Hello, hello. Welcome to the show, Aaron.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi.
there you are. Hi, how you doing tonight?
Oh, I can't complain. It's a Saturday night, hanging with an awesome fella.
Oh, thank you. Welcome to the Paradigm Shift, and thanks for coming on again. We're going to get you away from your Christmas, marquee as everybody sees it. And you've been on our show twice for the new folks listening, talking about Christmas. So if you guys want to see those shows, they're on the archive and Rumble. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. And I am glad to talk about a different subject. This is one that I have been very passionate about for many years. Gold and silver, very passionate about it.
Great, good. Yes. Tell us.
Well, I guess I'll begin with my story a little bit. Several years ago, not that many years ago, though, maybe around 2016, I started down these rabbit holes of truth as you have done for however long you've done it. For me, it's not been that long. And one of the things I knew was that I was supposed to buy gold and silver, but I didn't know why. And a friend introduced me to buying it, and she just gave me a silver coin that I carried around for months, not knowing why I should care about it, not understanding it. And then I got into a business where I was supposed to market gold and silver, and I'm still doing that.
Okay.
And different business now than in one, but the original one I was marketing for, I still didn't understand it. I still didn't know why I was selling it. So I went to an event where the owners were putting on some educational stuff on gold and silver, and they showed a little snippet of a video. And I was like, whoa, I'm hearing about the Federal Reserve. I'm hearing about Bretton Woods. I'm hearing about the end of the dollar from Nixon. And we can cover those things if you think people don't know what that is. But just basic stuff. I'm like, I didn't know any of this. I didn't even know why I should know what inflation was. I didn't know why I should care about the dollar.
Right.
I didn't understand it outside of the dollar. And that blew my mind. And I went into this I've got to know mode. And I started researching gold and silver and the history of money and why gold and silver matters. And that's kind of how I ended up getting so excited about it. And the really fun thing is, my very first interview that I ever did on YouTube was probably 2017. And it was with a guy named Patrick Holland. Have you ever heard of Patrick Holland?
I have not.
I can't remember the name of his Discord server at the time, but it was like a freedom movement. And I don't even remember how he found me, but he interviewed me on gold and silver. And today, Patrick Holland is in Missouri, and he is pushing. He's not a politician, but he's a group of a bunch of people that is pushing legislation to legalize gold and silver as legal tender in the state of Missouri.
Oh, wow.
And he's also pushed legislation protecting the state from government Second Amendment bans, like bump stocks and things like that.
Okay.
And so I get to all that because it's been kind of this full circle deal where now I'm going to try to do what Patrick Holland is doing in Missouri here in Montana. I want to try to float a bill and see if we can get people behind it.
Great.
And work on getting gold and silver as legal tender here. What state are you in?
New Mexico. Total communism. It's terrible here.
Is it really?
Our governor is insane. There's something wrong with our indeed.
There's a lot of states that have gold and silver as legal tender right now. Utah was the first back in like 2010.
Okay.
But March 10th, 2011 was Utah. And so a person might say, well, why would I care? Why do I want to use gold and silver? And you might, I don't know. Do you buy gold and silver yourself?
I do, yes.
How long have you been getting it for?
It's a long story, but a lot of it was family gold, and my son got into it, so I'm kind of, I don't know. I should own more. Let's put it that way.
The thing about why we might consider legal tender, and so there's other states that have joined in: Texas, West Virginia, Louisiana, Missouri's trying. There's like 19 states that Patrick sent in an email that are trying to pass legislation. So we're going there. What we would like to do is to get something like this at the state level because we can't do things at the federal level. It's too big. It's too,
Right.
what can you and I do?
Right.
But is there something you and I can do at the state level that would add to our freedoms? And one of the reasons this would add to our freedom is because the way it has worked, and it will kind of always work, I believe, if we look at history, is that every time a fiat currency crashes, and I'll explain what a fiat currency is, they go back to gold and silver.
Right.
Because it's been money for 5,000 years, basically. So what fiat currency is people might already know on your show, so apologize if everybody knows, but if there's somebody that doesn't,
sure,
it's a forced government currency that may or may not have any kind of store value. Well, it doesn't, because it's fiat. A currency can have a store value if it's backed by gold and silver or oil, right? Like our supposed petrodollar.
Right.
But it really is fiat because we're no longer backed by gold. We used to be on the gold standard, and before the Federal Reserve in 1913, our founding fathers actually they stated in the Constitution that money is only gold and silver, because it always has been.
Right.
It always goes back to that, and it's based on the fact that it's got value because of the human effort it takes to get it out of the ground, refine it, turn it into what it is.
Right.
It's fungible. You can divide it into smaller bits. So I'll show you an example if you like. This is kind of fun. This is called a gold back.
Oh, wow.
Have you seen these?
I have not. That's pretty cool.
Since New Hampshire.
What is that exactly? Is that money?
It is, but it's gold. It's a gold foil. And this one is got a value of 10 on it, but that doesn't mean $10, because we know one thing we'd like to do is try to think outside of dollars and put a value on things that isn't dollar based.
Okay.
Like I would take that if I've got chickens and you've got corn and I need some corn and you really need some chickens. Well, that value is going to kind of be based on our need, but it's also based on human effort. I have to raise the chickens well. You have to grow your corn well.
Right.
You have to take good care of it and harvest it. And I have to make sure my chickens are roaming and fed well, or you're not going to want my chickens. It's the same with gold and silver. You have to get it out of the ground. It's extremely hard to refine. And then to get it into something like this takes a lot of time.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit. That just has me fascinated. That looks like a bill, and it's a foil. And what is that? What would it cost to buy that? And how is it spendable?
If you go to any of these states that have gold and silver as legal tender, for instance, if we went here to New Hampshire where this was made, it would be converted into the value of dollars, because unfortunately that's how the world works right now still, especially the United States. We understand dollars, so we go to a store and we pay in dollars. So they would still kind of do convertibility. This would be worth about $40.
Wow.
Because it's 1/100th of gold, but that's based on spot. So
right.
the businesses that choose to allow gold and silver as legal tender in these states, they have to have something that shows what spot value is right there in the moment.
Okay.
And the great thing is, this is called a goldback, which is probably a trademark name. You can go to goldback.com and it will give you the value right then and there.
I see.
So you don't actually have to weigh it. You don't have to check to see if it's truly got this much gold in it, but you can, because you can buy those machines that will test the amount of gold or silver in your product and weigh it for you. So Utah makes them, New Hampshire makes them.
Okay.
I think West Virginia does make them. Oh, and Nevada makes them. So you can get a Nevada. I've got a Nevada one here.
Wow.
So that's why they're making it, because then you can travel into those states and you can say, okay, I've got, here's the dollar size. It's 1/1000th of a troy ounce.
Wow.
And that's worth about $4. So you can purchase with these. And I saw a friend of mine from New York dealer, he went to the store to purchase and he got dollars back in return. So it's kind of, not we're not at a system where they can break these. They're not breaking these down into smaller, much smaller.
Right. So you spend it, you're going to get the dirty dollar back.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's up there.
So people might not want to spend it, but you certainly can. And putting gold and silver back as a legal tender in a state would actually give us some freedoms. What I want people to know is, because the question I get is, why would I want gold and silver over ammo, guns, a farm, a cow, that kind of stuff?
Right.
And the reason is because it has been money for so long, and it always goes back to money. If we were to have a crash in our lifetime or in our children's lifetime where there was no fiat, what are people going to use as money? If they've always gone back to gold and silver, always.
What about the digital dollar boys? What do you think their, take on all this, gold backed currencies? I'm sure they don't like it.
So a lot of banks are buying up gold. And the question is why? And we're talking big central banks, even US banks and Chinese banks, and all these big banks are buying up gold. So what do they know that we don't? Well, they know it's a store of value. They know it's still money because of its store of value. And they would need it to recover, to pay off all the debt if we stopped at the dollar.
Right.
They would need it. And they don't actually have enough. Gold would have to be probably priced somewhere at $20,000 an ounce to cover the amount of debt we have in dollars.
Wow.
Now.
Oh, yeah. So I could see that.
So as gold price goes up in dollars, you're actually just means our dollars inflating and losing more and more value. So do we want to hold, really, do we want to buy gold to make as an investment to get a return? No, we should buy it and hold on to it, because if the dollar, now I will get to the digital currency.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
But if the dollar crashes and we have nothing and we go back as a society to gold and silver, whoever's holding the paper will be flat broke. So wow. This would be a wealth transfer. This would be a situation of you possibly getting your prosperity back because gold and silver is the only money, and all the people holding the paper, whether it's stocks and bonds, whether it's dollars, whether it's other investments that are paper, those people are going to be caught empty-handed with nothing.
Wow.
And unless you're totally self-sufficient and you've got your farm and your chickens and your cow and your solar and your own well, you're going to need it, because we're still a society that's going to be doing trade and purchasing. And if you're not holding the money, if you don't have some, silver in your hands or gold, right, you're going to be flat broke.
So people that have fat stashes of cash in the safe, I mean, in the event of, because we keep hearing about a black swan event and some dire market numbers and such, what do the fat stacks of cash people do?
Yeah, it's going to be toilet paper. It's Seriously? Just going to be toilet paper.
Wow.
Or they'll be burning it to stay warm, like we saw in Venezuela.
Wow.
Right here, I'm
laughing. That's a terrible thing.
I have a $10 trillion bill from Zimbabwe.
Wow.
Have you ever seen that?
No, that's pretty cool.
That's when this currency went into hyperinflation and it went down to zero. Or maybe it's still not even quite to zero, but it's really bad.
Yeah.
They had to start printing $10 trillion bills. It actually says $10 trillion on it. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah. Wow. What?
10 trillion.
And what was the purpose of doing that?
Well, they were crashing. They were having an economic crisis, which is what we're going to see. The difference there was that it was having an economic crisis locally, just like Venezuela did. But when the dollar crashes, I think that will be throughout the entire, I think we'll see it everywhere. In all the countries, we're going to see some kind of crash. However, a lot of countries are stepping away from the dollar. They're getting around it.
They are.
They're using other ways, like BRICS, which is like Brazil and Russia, and I can't remember all the countries. I should have written them down, but anyone could look it up and you could say, okay, they're getting around using the dollar. if you look at Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi, they were both trying to get away from the dollar and go back to a gold standard.
Yep.
So what happens most often, and I'm not ignoring the digital dollar thing.
No, we'll get to it for sure.
Yeah, we will. But what normally happens is there's these main stages that the countries go to like a civilized society, if you will. And that starts with the country is either backed their currency with gold and silver, or they're using gold and silver. That's where we almost always start. That's the money. And then the society starts growing economically, and they start adding layers of public works that they need to pay for. So because the economy and the influence is growing, society will start to get a political influence. And we can think of America totally with this, the United States. And as the political influence grows, the expenditure to fund everything grows. And then they want to say, well, we need a military to protect this very nice public works place, this very nice society that we've built.
Right.
And so now we need to fund the military. Well, once you start funding the military, then you really need lots of currency or money. And that's when the expenditure really explodes. And so what they started doing, what they've done in the past, and they're doing now, is so when gold and silver was the money, they would start putting like copper in it and other metals to devalue it.
I see.
And so then you wouldn't even have a solid gold anymore, or solid silver. And then that's how you start creating a fiat, right? So you can do it in amounts that you couldn't do before, because gold and silver, one, are hard to refine. Two, they are finite. You have to have the ability to get to some. So if you currently have your only supply, okay, we'll start mixing some copper in there and some other metals,
Right.
and then we can make as much as we want.
Right.
Just like dollars, we can print as many as we want.
Wow.
And so then, you start expanding your currency, that people start seeing, I don't think that you really have, I think you're spending too much. I think you're making too much. And we've seen that with other countries, which is why Nixon stopped the gold standard in 1971.
I see.
Because other countries were saying, you're printing a lot of dollars, but we don't think you have the gold to back it, because we were on the gold standard.
Right.
Gold was supposed to be connected to the dollar, and it wasn't anymore. So as countries started demanding their gold, we couldn't pay up. So Nixon had to stop.
So that's why.
That's why, because we couldn't afford to pay them back in gold. But one thing he said is the dollar is still strong. We won't see inflation. The dollar is strong. You can trust the dollar.
Hilarious.
And so we're seeing that now, where people are losing faith in the dollar. And then there's kind of a mass move of currency back to precious metals. And that's how it's been in the past. We don't know if we'll see that this time, because you talked about the CBDC, right? We're looking at a digital currency that might tag us and monitor us and follow us. But that's another reason to own gold and silver and push legislation in your state. You don't have to be a politician to do that, because you can take it to the legislators. They can write up the bill and they can float it for you. And if you go to mofree.org, let me make sure mofree.org. Okay. They have legislation that they've written that you are welcome to print off.
Oh, nice.
And you can take it to your own legislators. But the reason we want this is because then if we have legal tender of gold and silver, we don't have to use the CBDC. We don't have to, because this is at a state level and the state votes on it. And that's outside of the federal government, unless the federal government tries to step in, which they can, but we got to keep pushing back at a state level.
Well,
so that's a lot.
We're certainly heading to some kind of event. I don't know what, don't know when, but we're seeing the banks fall. We're seeing, like you said, other countries ditching the dollar. And I don't think that a lot of younger folks or even older folks understand what that really means, because we've all lived on the petrodollar for the most part. What do you think that's going to look like, Aaron, when the dollar is completely abandoned?
If there's not a smooth transition into the CBDC, which I'm not advocating for a CBDC, I don't like it. I don't want it. I'm a more libertarian than anything. But if there's a somewhat smooth transition, people might just find that they do okay, because they're going to just, because if they're, I don't know that they'll be able to do that, because the history shows, like when the Confederate dollar ended, there was a lot of problems. People had a lot of trouble until they brought in the new dollar, which is kind of why the history shows that they have to go back to gold and silver before they can start the new fiat currency. They have to either put a currency on gold and silver or use gold and silver. And so that's a good question. Are we going to see a time? And this is why you should hold it, because what if we do see a time where there's not a smooth transition
Right.
from the dollar to the CDBC or CBDC, and there will be people holding dollars that will have nothing, and we'll see them either trying to flee. But where will they flee? Because this will be a crisis in every country. I think if the dollar ends, it will cause problems almost everywhere
Over the world, sure. We had our financial guy on, and he had stated that buying gold in somewhere like 1980 or 90, it was running you 2,000 an ounce, and gold is at 2,000 an ounce now. So he's like, "Where's your, where have you made any money?" That was his argument. But I'm with you. I'm with the precious metals.
You shouldn't look at it, because it is money. So you're not making money by buying. It's actually an exchange. You're exchanging your dollars for gold and silver, not for a return. It's not an investment. It's
Right.
not. It shouldn't be, because it's just the money. It's all we have as money, and all we've ever had is real, actual money. Every fiat currency has gone to zero. Every fiat currency so far, except, the dollar hasn't yet, but it will, because they all have. And then they go through this same thing that I told you about, where we start out with gold and silver, or a gold and silver backed deal, and then our economy grows and we need to pay for things, and we need more dollars and we don't have enough gold and silver. We start deficits, and then it all blows up in their face, and then go back to gold and silver. So what he's saying is, well, I want more dollars. Let's get our mind away from the dollars. We don't want dollars, because if gold is making me a lot of dollars, that means the dollar is losing its value.
Right.
And
Well,
I'm
that's
not going to
true.
be able to use them for much longer.
Right. Okay. Well, that makes total sense. Well,
Another reason why
yeah.
gold and silver are being held down is something called ETFs, or futures, where they're kind of making gold and silver infinite. They're giving you a paper that says, I will hold your gold and silver. So like JP Morgan, for instance, will say,
Oh, yeah.
I will hold your gold and silver in my nice safe storage facility.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you this piece of paper that shows that you have it, but they don't have to actually store it.
Yeah, I
So
always wondered. That's like buying into gold but not actually receiving it. Is that what you're describing? Who would
That's
do
exactly
that
right.
in their right mind? I mean, seriously.
I don't know, but it's happening enough that is, I believe, one of the reasons that they're able to keep silver and gold down, because they're making it infinite. They're
Right.
selling pieces of paper saying, we're holding your gold. So the best thing you can do is buy from somebody like my company that I work for is called Metal Stacks, and you can buy it. This is kind of fun. They're like little pellets. There's
Oh,
little
wow.
silver pellets.
Yeah.
You buy it, and it comes straight to your house, and then you put it in a safe somewhere, keep it safe,
Right.
and then you have it.
Right.
Or you can put it there are gold and silver storage units. There's not one in Montana, but there's one in Idaho where it's armed.
Those are little silver like balls.
Yeah, they're little pellets.
Oh wow! Oh, pellets. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to have like 1,000 of those.
This is 5 ounces worth. But
wow.
a good thing to own is this combi bar, because you can break these off into little pieces.
Oh,
with little
nice.
1 grams.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought samples. Very cool.
Yeah. I did it kind of at the last minute. I was like, oh, I haven't
Great
done a gold
idea,
and silver podcast in so long, or that I'm like, oh, I need to get all my stuff out. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I have lots of silver, not lots of gold.
Yeah. Well, silver's good.
Another thing people can do that's kind of fun. I don't know if there's any collectors, but there's collectible silver that you can get too.
Okay.
And what that is now I've been to coin shows, and I can tell you that collectors are out there, and they're really into lots of different things.
Oh, really?
And one of the things they're into is the perfection of something, right? So a baseball card, comic books, if it's in perfect condition and it's like the right year, the right guy, and it's in perfect condition, that makes all the difference. If you have like a used old beat up baseball card of your favorite of some favorite guy, it wouldn't be worth nearly what it would be worth if it's in perfect condition. So one thing they gold and silver companies, specifically this is not a gold and silver company that sells gold and silver, but it's called NGC, and what they do is they grade the coin. So they say, okay, let's see what condition your coin is in, and we'll grade it on this scale of 1 to 70. And for some reason, that's what it turned out. I guess there's just 70 degrees of damage you can have to a coin.
I see.
If it's perfect, it's called mint state 70. And so this is called an MS 70 mint state coin. And then they put it in a case, they vacuum seal it, and it stays in perfect condition forever. And so I've had collectibles like this where I bought them for a couple $100 or a couple hundred, and I've sold them for 600, 700, 1,000.
Oh, wow. And you had them checked by that company?
I didn't have to because I already bought them like this, but you can do that. You can send your own coins in.
Oh, that's great.
And they can grade them for you, or you can just buy them already graded. And I didn't bring one down, but I have one that's probably worth $800.
Wow.
And I bought it for $300. And I have Trump ones. I have ones. So so you're like, wait, is it Trump on the coin?
Yeah.
No, it's not on this particular one that I have, but it's got
gotta have
a
your
label.
Trump,
So
gotta have your Trump gold.
So collectors are funny because the label can make it worth something.
Oh.
So it can be worth something outside of the silver itself. This argument that I've had with some people, debate, whatever, that I've had with some people is they say, well, it's just a piece of silver, so it's only worth the price of silver. And I say, well, there are people out there that it's worth a lot more to. Oh, yeah. Because it's of collectability. So just think of it like a baseball card or a comic book. But here's one with Trump on it.
Ah, there he is. That's our guy.
And then the "Don't Tread on Me" on the other side.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Those are silver.
This is real silver.
Nice. I have, let's see. Is it Mercury dimes? Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Those are like the pre-1964
and I have
even older.
I have two
much older
JFK $50, and one my father carried in his pocket most of his life, and it was worn out, so it's got a lot of sentimental value, but just little trinkets of stuff that's laying around. I collect all kinds of junk.
I might have had one of those Mercury dimes. They're the real old ones. Yeah, I do.
Oh, nice. You probably got a little everything over there.
Yeah. I didn't bring
the
go. Gold is all locked
That's up. It. There it is. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are those worth?
They're worth 1/10 of an ounce of silver.
1/10 of an ounce of silver. Okay.
Yeah, silver's probably running about $22 today, maybe.
Tradable in the end of the world, right?
Yeah. We talked about silver's value, and it should probably, if it was valued at what it should be valued at today, it would probably be about $1,000 an ounce.
Is that right?
In dollars.
And who's holding it down? These big wigs?
Well, see, it's speculative, but I'm speculating these ETFs have a really big thing. I think that's what has a lot to do with it, because
what's an
they're
ETF?
kind of making it infinite. The futures, the paper.
Okay.
That they sell you and they say, okay, we're holding your silver.
Oh yeah, those guys. Gotcha. Oh.
And interestingly enough, we were going to talk about crypto a little bit.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is making an ETF version.
Oh, really?
And
interesting.
And oddly, BlackRock is buying it up.
Oh, of course. Good old BlackRock.
Yeah, and I don't know what to make about it. I was very into crypto for a few years, but I'll admit that it made me a lot of money, and then it lost me a lot of money.
I saw the part where you were making a lot of money. I was like, wow, look at her go. That might be something to get into. And then, of course, I'm very conservative with money. I don't like to take big risks, so I backed off.
The thing is they weren't they were rug pulls. And so if now Bitcoin hasn't pulled the rug, so you could, but Bitcoin goes up and down, it's volatile, and there's others you could get into. And I kind of did get into day trading a little bit, but I just didn't understand it enough to do a great job at it.
Right.
But the two things I got into, one was one out of Wyoming, and Wyoming had passed legislation to allow crypto as a currency there, kind of like these states are doing with gold and silver.
I've seen that.
And so,
yeah.
So for them to put the business based in Wyoming, they didn't have to be there, but they based the business in Wyoming was supposed to be, it was supposed to just be a game changer. And it was for a couple of years. And so it was real. I sold it on the crypto exchange. I sold a lot of it on the crypto exchange, and I made a lot of money doing that. But then it kept dropping and dropping.
I know,
and then pretty
yes.
soon it got so low that it just kind of disappeared off of the exchanges.
Dang. Oh, bummer.
But I was grateful that I saw it happening. The problem with crypto is teaching other people.
Oh, yeah.
And I got a lot of people into it, and I wasn't able to teach them in time to do what I was doing. And so because
Very
they'd have to sit
complicated.
down, it is complicated. And
Yeah.
if they weren't going to sit down with me and learn, I couldn't teach them how to sell it.
Yeah,
If they weren't going to sit.
that's exactly why I didn't really ever get into that, is because it's extremely complicated. But we've had a number of guests on this show that have said XRP, 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 even though it doesn't do a lot, you know.
Well, I think they're still isn't the SEC still investigating XRP?
They are.
So until that comes out on the other side, which I think it will,
Oh, yeah.
we don't know what it's going to do. So I don't have a problem. And if you have money that you're not afraid to lose, invest it in crypto, but be aware that you may lose it. I had another one. I had $54,000 into it.
Oh, my gosh.
Not that I put into it, that I had earned.
Right. Okay.
Rug pull. It was just gone the next day.
Oh, that is.
And
Oh, my God.
terrible.
I
terrible.
would be
In fact-
devastated. And my wife would be chasing me around with a broom.
Yeah. The issue specifically with that was I had plans for that, and I had already pulled. So it wasn't a fake crypto. I had already pulled money out as currency. I'd already pulled out lots of dollars. I had bought like new tires with it. I had paid for a vacation for us with it. But I had a feeling, because I didn't know a lot about it and I couldn't find out a lot about the owners. I had a feeling something was going to happen, and I should have pulled it sooner. Anyway, I didn't. And that's what happened. And this is the risk you're going to take when you get into cryptos that you might not, that they're either new or you don't know a lot about. So you can get into something that seems more stable, like Bitcoin or Litecoin or other things like that. We just don't know what they're going to do. Now, there are people that swear that Bitcoin's never going to go away. It's going to be great. Buy it, buy it, buy it.
Right.
Right now, we bought land. So we've got our money in rentals and land.
Yes.
And we're going to farm.
Oh,
So
great.
I don't have extra income to put into crypto anymore. So we're not going to do it.
Land is good. Land is really actually the best way you can go. You know, I mean, if you could get into rentals and houses, that's great, but you better have a big old fat bank account.
The great thing is my husband
I did it for years.
Did you do it for years?
Oh, 12 years we owned houses and apartments, and yeah, it was terrible.
It can be. My husband is the only reason I get to be any part of that, and he is extremely good at what he does. He's been doing it for a long time.
Nice.
And before we got married, I would work with him on cleaning them and doing some like landscape maintenance and things like that. And it's, you have some where they just need to be cleaned and it's gross and dirty.
yeah.
And then you have some where they're just destroyed.
Right. Oh,
Destroyed.
yeah. I had a kid, everything checked out. We running through the background and da-da-da-da. And 6 months later, they're shooting heroin in one apartment and, selling it in the other. And by the time we get there, literally, I swear there had to be 500 beer bottles. They took a Harley apart and rebuilt it in my living room. It was like, wow. So yeah, I mean, if you're into sweat equity, and I mean, real estate does very well. It's a good way to pocket your money away for a while. But the silver and the gold, that's a biggie, right? And you really had some beautiful examples of what you do. How can
I have
people?
more.
I think what a lot of people wonder is, well, I'm just, Joe Schmo, I work at the factory, and, we make blah, blah, blah. And, the kids, the wife, only have so much money. What do folks like that do?
Buy small amounts. So like these pellets, they're just little tiny things. You can buy dimes. You can buy these are all the dimes that I was just kind of showing you one of.
Sure.
You can buy in small amounts. And as long as you can put in, even if you could put in $50 a month into something, you will have more gold and silver than 97% of the world, maybe 99%, if you just even start buying in small amounts. You can get dimes, fractionals. My website, if anybody wants to look at it, is metalstacks.com/Abby Normal, ABBYNORMAL. And it's metal stacks, not metals stacks, metalstacks.com/Abby Normal. And you can see what you can buy. You can see that there's fractional. You can see that there's constitutional. What that means is it's the like the 1964 and older silver. That's 90%.
Oh, cool.
You can, we don't advertise the gold backs on there, but we can get them. We can actually get anything. There's even palladium and platinum for people who get really excited about other things. But you can see on that website what you can buy. Just right there, and how much the price is. And if you buy from me, it's at a retail price, but the retail price, I've done comparisons with other websites like APMEX and JM Bullion and SD Bullion. And SD Bullion is the only one I'm a very honest person.
Oh,
SD
really?
Bullion's the only one that's beat us on a few of our retail prices.
Okay.
So JM Bullion doesn't, APMEX doesn't. And these are all companies that are online that will send gold and silver straight to your door.
I've heard a couple of those. Yeah. And that's another thing. It's almost like crypto. You go and you say, I want to, you Google buy gold, and you get just inundated with, hundreds of, you're like, who do I trust out there?
Yeah, you could trust APMEX, JM Bullion, SD Bullion. You could trust Noble Gold. There is quite a few. You can trust Metal Stacks because I'm personally getting it, and I know I can test it. I can take it to the local coin shop. That's another thing you can do is the local coin shops are going to have the ability to test your gold and your silver.
Okay.
And so certainly these are refutable companies. You can look into our Metal Stacks owner. He's out of Florida. That's something people should do.
I love the name. Metal Stacks?
Yeah, stacking metals, man.
Yeah, I love it. It's a way to do it.
If you can't find out information about who owns a company, or they seem sketch, or you can connect them to something bigger like BlackRock, you probably don't want to buy from that company. And that's something I actually do with just even my vitamins. I make sure they're not some big corporation that's going to put mRNA vaccine substance into
No kidding. You got to be concerned these days, You have to be concerned. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Look into owners. Anyone could look into our owner that started Metal Stacks, and I have found nothing myself, and kind of a researcher. And then when you get it, you can take it to the local coin shop and have them test it for you. And then pretty soon you just probably really won't, because you'll know you're getting the real thing. But when I compared our prices to the local shops, our retail prices for a silver Eagle, I just do like general ones. I compare like the Maple Leaf coin, the Silver Eagle coin, and a bar, like a generic bar. The Silver Eagle at the retail store was $7 more than our Silver Eagle at Metal Stacks. So if you're going to buy a lot, maybe you're not buying a lot, so you're like, I'll just buy it from the local shop. I'll just go get some dimes. Good. Right. Start somewhere. Buy it from somebody. But if you're going to buy a lot, $7 difference an ounce is huge.
That's big.
So I would recommend people check out my website. Now, we do have better price options if you want to do like a Costco style membership. Okay. If you want to pay for an annual membership for wholesale prices, it's like $250 a year. And if you're buying significant amounts, this is a good idea, because then you're going to get the wholesale price. If you pay $500 a year, you get what's called dealer cost. What that means is, so here's how spot works. Spot is supposed to be, and let's just say it is for all intents and purposes, based on the difficulty of of the cost of getting it out of the ground and just separated from everything else.
Right.
Just getting it out of the ground and separated from dirt and all the other stuff. But that's what supposedly creates the cost of spot. So spot is nothing's ever sold at spot because they have to refine it. They have to put it into something. They have to put a pretty picture on it. So that's the premium that comes on top of it. So dealers get it at the best price so that they can sell it with a premium even on top of that, right? So there's a premium from spot to dealer, and then from dealer to wholesale, and then wholesale to retail. So we have the option that you can buy it at retail, or you can buy it at wholesale, or you can buy it at dealer costs. And the reason they can do that is because you're doing like Costco, you're paying an annual membership.
Okay.
So now they can give it to you at the dealer cost. So that's something for people to consider. And my email is ladyliberty@countermail.com. You can email me as many questions as you want regarding this stuff, and I'll answer. And like I said, even if you buy from somebody else, I'll still answer your questions because I want people to have gold and silver in their hands.
Absolutely. We're seeing this. I don't even know, how would you spend that if everything went, and there was nothing going, no electricity, everything was on the bar. How would you spend that?
I guess if we were talking about like the grid going down type of deal, that would be disastrous. There would be a lot of death. There would be a lot of mayhem. And I don't know who would survive.
Oh, wow.
I guess gold and silver in that instance might not even be the forefront. We might just be in a survival mode. So I'm talking about we're still probably a civilized society going about our business.
God, I hope so.
Yeah. Civilized, being a word that who knows. But I guess what I mean is we're going to use gold and silver as long as we're trying to maintain some level of a society.
Right.
If we're not all dying off, and we won't, if we are maintaining some level of society, that means there's still money in hand for somebody. And if it's going back to gold and silver like it always has, and you and I have that, you and I are going to be the ones that receive the wealth in that instance. We don't necessarily want to tell everybody, oh, we've got this much gold and silver, and here's where I keep it.
Of course.
Because people will come for it.
Yikes.
But I keep mine off-site. I don't keep it at my house, by the way, just so everybody knows.
We're working on a prepping show for next week. I don't know if we're going to get our guest that we're looking at, but yeah, you don't want that stuff in your hand in the event of riding in the street, courtesy of Joe Biden.
That's true. And also, it'll be kind of that's another thing, is it makes me think of the anonymity of it. We keep it kind of anonymous, but I'll be able to go and buy things and do things with it. But when you buy gold and silver, you don't have to report any of it. Or when you sell it, you don't have to report it. There's an anonymity to buying it.
Oh, okay.
So unless they're tracking, the credit card you're using, or your phone is next to you, that kind of stuff, even still, they can't exactly know exactly what you're buying. They can't just break in to encrypt. I know some people think that there's this encryption key and you can encrypt absolutely anything and everything on the internet.
Right.
And I've been down that rabbit hole myself. It's possible, but who has it?
Right.
I don't, who has that encryption key?
We're not in that club, that's for sure. Yeah.
No, and I don't know that someone like Biden would be able to have it. So I don't even think that. So I don't think that this is a much more anonymous purchase than if you were to, go out and purchase other things, simply because the gold and the silver doesn't have to be reported.
Right.
So there's certain things that in certain amounts of selling, they don't have to report, especially certain coins. I forget which year it was, but Reagan created a law about gold and silver so that from then, any silver eagle after that, you didn't have to report if you sold, even if you sold over $10,000 worth. Now, there's some minutia involved in that. So some people will say, oh yeah, you still have to report it. But really by law, if it came down to it, there's a lot of gold and silver that you can buy and sell and you don't have to report any of it.
Government, man. I'm just shaking my head because, God, they're into everything. Okay, Aaron, you got about a minute and a half. Throw out all your information so people know how to get a hold of you. Yeah, wow, we went right through that.
Yeah, well, it's a subject I love. So ladyliberty@countermail.com is my email, and my real name is Erin, as you said. And but if you call me Abby Normal, that's fine. My gold and silver website is www.metalstacks.com/ABBYNORMAL. That's Abby Normal. So metal stacks, like we're stacking metal, metalstacks.com/Abby Normal.
Stacking that metal. Love it.
That's right. Hey, and you should be stacking more too, buddy. So I expect to be hearing
I'm
from
going
you.
to be calling you definitely, my friend. Erin, thank you for coming on the show tonight. Highly appreciated.
Well, thanks for having me again. Let's do it again.
Oh, yeah. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Night.